Let's talk rainy day activities. You're watching Growing Together. I'm Mel. Today I'm going to give you 5 suggestions for rainy day activities that you can do with your children. These activities aren't necessarily going to be by age. They're just 5 activities that I think are really great activities to do with children, and you would need to modify them depending on the age of your child. My first activity is cooking. Cooking is a really fun thing to do with your children. Depending on their age, you can get them involved in more or less of the activity, get them to read the recipe, get them to even suggest new ideas for whatever it is that you're cooking. It's a really inclusive and fun activity. You can cook pretty much anything. Get them involved in cooking dinner or making their lunches. Do some baking, make biscuits or muffins or cupcakes. Cooking is a really important skill that they will need all throughout their lives. But it's also really fun. Children love cooking. They love getting engaged and involved in something that's actually a relatively big part of their lives. They love the interactiveness of it, the measuring and the pouring, the mixing, the stirring, the putting things into the oven. They love frying. They love all the different variations of what you are actually doing with cooking. And like I said, the older they are or the younger they are, you vary it. So very young children, you would do the majority of the actual work, but you might measure out the cup of flour and get them to pour it into the bowl. Let them do the mixing. It's also a really fantastic way to talk about health and nutrition, talk about sometimes food and always food, talk about what is healthy and what isn't healthy, talk about why you have sometimes food. It's a really lovely, fun way to engage with your kids, to talk just in generally with them and have fun. And it gives you something to focus on so that you don't have to make up conversation because you're having to talk and communicate while you are doing the cooking. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about different ideas for kids' lunches. So there are some recipes linked in that description. So I will link that video in this description. Go and check those recipes out if you want some ideas. The next activity that's really fun and again, really easy and also really cheap is to make Play-Doh. Play-Doh is such a fantastic thing for children to use. It helps them to learn how to build, how to manipulate. It strengthens their hands and arm muscles. It helps them develop their hand-eye coordination, their fine motor skills. It's such an amazing thing and it helps in so many different ways. But it's just also so much fun. Children love Play-Doh. They love the different colors. They love the fact that they can do just about anything with it. They can squish things. They can make things and then squish them again. They can roll things. They can put things into different shapes. They are learning so much while they do this and having so much fun. I would suggest that you actually make Play-Doh with your children. That is another thing that you can cook with them, but it has a very different end result and gives you an opportunity to talk about science and how cooking is science, but that you have different things that you then end up with as a finished product. It would spark a lot of really interesting conversations. One of the main ingredients of Play-Doh is cream of tartar. Now, I'm not sure about the rest of the world, but here in Australia, cream of tartar comes in a little tin like this, and on the tin is a recipe for Play-Doh. It's a bit hard to see there. It's actually really easy to make. All you need is the cream of tartar, flour, salt, water, oil, and the food colouring. Mix it all in together. This suggests that you mix it in a saucepan, but I tend to use just hot water to mix it that way instead of doing it on the stove. But either way, it's really easy to make and all you need is this and all usual household items. Activity number 3, box work. If you're like me and you have loads and loads of boxes and cartons and rolls of toilet paper and rolls from inside hand towels and all that sort of stuff in your recycling box, don't just throw it out into the recycling bin. Have a look through and see if there's anything that you can salvage to build things with. Box work is so much fun. again, it's building, but it's a totally different kind of building than what you get with Play-Doh. You can use all of the things I just mentioned to build towns, to build cities, to build bridges, to build all sorts of things with your kids. True, it kind of does take a bit of effort, but if you're stuck in the house on a really horrible wet afternoon, then you're looking for something really interactive and engaging to do, definitely go with the box work. Get your sticky tape out, get your scissors out, and just get going. Basically, your imagination will take you wherever you want to go. Boxes are great because they're easy to take down and reuse over and over again, but you can also build a structure that you actually end up keeping. You might tape it to a really huge bit of cardboard or even a really huge bit of wood. You could paint it, you can use bits of paper to wrap around it. Basically, the sky's the limit with that one. And now we come to finger painting. I know. Finger painting is really, really messy. And you're going to probably need some kind of smock or shirt that you can put on over your kids' clothes that you don't mind if it gets really painty. You might want to consider putting down some newspaper or plastic on the floor. Try to only do it in the kitchen or a dining room where you might have lino or something like that that's easier to clean up rather than carpet. But finger painting is super fun. And again, it's something that you can do with really, really young children. Most paint that you can get these days is totally free of toxins and totally fine. It doesn't matter if kids eat it. So even if your children are at that stage where basically everything goes in their mouths, it's going to be fine. I mean, I wouldn't suggest that they actually eat it for dinner, obviously, but if they just chuck their fingers in their mouth every now and then, don't worry about it. There are a couple of different ways that you can do finger painting, and kids enjoy both of these. You can finger paint directly onto the paper, or you can finger paint directly onto the table and then actually get the paper and put it on top of what you've painted and smooth it down, and that gives you a pattern as well. That's something that's a little bit different. Probably I would go with introducing the paper down first, finger painting, and then do the other as an alternative for something a bit different once they've got the hang of finger painting. Finger painting is really fun because it doesn't involve them having to do something in particular with their painting. They don't have to feel like they're trying to make a person or a dog or a house. They can just have fun with the actual paint. Just stick their fingers in and see the patterns that they can make, maneuver the paint around and manipulate paint and the paper with their fingers. If you're doing it straight onto the table, it's something the children can then change their minds and totally get rid of one drawing or whatever and then do it again. They can do this multiple times before they decide to put the paper on. Some children really love that sensory activity of having their hands in paint and they just want to play with the paint. If you're doing finger painting, that's perfectly fine. It doesn't actually matter. If you're sitting with them and you're having a lovely chat and maybe you're even doing it yourself and you're both having a great time talking about the feeling of the paint, talking about the colours, talking about the way that they can move their fingers to get different effects, they'll have a fantastic time and they'll really, really enjoy the experience that they're having with you. It's also a really great way of developing that hand-eye coordination, developing the dexterity of their fingers and their finger strength, as well as their fine motor skills. Lastly, we're going to bring it down to something that's a little bit quieter and a little bit less messy, and that is puzzles. Puzzles teach children to concentrate. Puzzles teach children to think about shapes, think about direction, think about movement, think about colours, think about patterns. It's actually very early pre-maths stuff that they're learning with all of those different things. And children just really, really enjoy the feeling of puzzles. They enjoy having that autonomy over a picture and seeing it come together. They enjoy being able to pick the pieces and turn it so that it faces in the right direction and they get it. They get really excited, like they've just solved some kind of mystery when they manage to solve a puzzle. Alright, so those are my 5 rainy day activities. I really hope that you found that interesting and valuable. If you have any suggestions of rainy day activities that you enjoy doing with your children, please comment below and let me know. I'd love to include them in a video at some point. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you later.